Like you can feel like, man, is there anyone who knows what we're going through and help us? Because there was a lot of honor, a lot of love in the room for sure. Good people, like Ricky said, we have wonderful people. But when you've walked through pain, you tend to make decisions from your pain. And we were trying to make decisions not from our pain, but for the health of the church.
Yeah.
Welcome to the LeadingSmart podcast. You've got Holly and Tim today. Today's going to be a little different. We have a very special story that we want you guys to hear today. And this is a LeadingSmart church that we got to partner with about a year and a half ago, maybe, Tim? Yeah?
Yeah, we probably started I think I started in early 24. So it was early on in our LeadingSmart history.
Yes. And Tim was able to walk alongside Wellspring Church. They were known as Southwest Church. And you'll hear a little bit of that on the story today, but I always have to remind myself, wait, what are they called again? Because it's also, they were Southwest, SW, and now they're WS with Wellspring.
And also they're in Indian Wells, so Wells, and it's near Palm Springs, so Springs. It's very confusing. But also, I think it's perfect. I love their branding.
Yes, it's so hard to describe how beautiful this area of the country is in Southern California near Palm Springs. So anyway, Tim, talk to us a little bit about Wellspring. I know everybody's going to be able to hear the whole story in full when we dive in here in a second. I know this is a special church for you, and this was a special engagement that you got to do.
Yeah, this was a church that I worked with when you and I were at Vanderbloemen and got to help Ricky Jenkins move from, I think he was in Memphis at the time, to become the senior pastor at what was then Southwest Church. I think it was about maybe 5 or 6 years prior to 2024 when he reached out actually in late 23 and just said, hey, I really need to figure out my clarity around my board. He said he had great people on his board. They love Jesus. They love the church. But there's lack of clarity around what their job is and what their job isn't. And it was really causing the staff a lot of time. And he felt like it was impeding the growth of the church and making it difficult for him to serve there. So we got to come alongside them and he'll unpack it, kind of like what they were feeling at the time. And Natalie is his executive pastor. She is an amazing leader. And so we got to work with both of them and with the chair and vice chair of the board and walk them through a journey. We spent about a little over a year with them, maybe close to a year and a half, rebuilding their board governance and then providing some clarity around that and then providing coaching around that.
So Tim and I could tell you all day, every day, like we have on the last several podcasts that we've been doing, of how important fostering a healthy church board is. But we wanted you to hear it firsthand from Pastor Ricky and Pastor Natalie and their story of why they believe it's so important to make that investment to be able to have a healthy board, which makes a healthy church. So take a listen to Pastor Ricky and Pastor Natalie. Well, Pastor Ricky, Pastor Natalie, thank you so much for spending time with me. I am so pumped to be here on site at what used to be Southwest Church. And as of the time we're recording this, about 3 weeks ago, officially Wellspring Church.
That's right.
So congrats on the rebrand. You guys are wearing your swag. You're rocking it.
Swagged out.
Yeah,
I love it.
We are.
And we are in the middle of Revival Week. Tell everybody just a little about what Revival Week looks like for you guys.
Yeah, it's almost kind of like an old school kind of homage to the Billy Graham days, Crusade days, 3 nights of intense worship and some real powerful communicators of the gospel. And we just encourage our church to get out there and get as many friends and coworkers, neighbors who are far from God. And we just come to encourage them. And it's really sweet. It kind of culminates our 21 days of prayer that we start off our year with. So everybody's been praying and fasting, and we're ready to eat chicken again. And,
We are.
Celebrating.
So
It's great. And
awesome.
I love that it's at the beginning of our year, right? So it just
Yes.
begins our year with this real excitement of like, hey, let's get people in our community to know Jesus, and then let's get them plugged in throughout the rest of the year. So we've seen a lot of fruit from it, and every year we're just amazed at the growth, the excitement with our people. It's been really awesome.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Well, and we're in Indian Wells, California, which is right next to Palm Springs.
Yeah.
For any of the people watching or listening that are like me that are not as familiar with this part of California, I told you, as we were walking in, that it is like every day looks like vacation.
Yes.
Yeah.
That's how I feel. I'm sure it's not like that if you actually live here, but
Yeah.
absolutely gorgeous.
Yeah.
I think it's like 81 degrees here in January. So,
Yes.
of course. It
But
is
like
like
a
vacation.
dry, not like a Houston wet,
No.
gross,
No
a
no
dry,
bugs, no
perfect.
humidity.
Oh,
Yeah.
so good.
Come visit us.
Yeah. Someone's got to be out here to suffer for Christ.
We're suffering for
you
Christ.
are suffering for Christ. Which, speaking of, let's talk about a little about who you guys are. So Pastor Natalie, if you'll kind of introduce yourself as the executive pastor here at Wellspring Church.
Yeah, so my name's Natalie. Been on staff here for 13 years and then been in my role for about 3 years now. Lived in the Coachella Valley my whole life and attended the church actually for 26 years. So love what I get to do. It's just an honor and a privilege.
That's awesome. And then you work right alongside Pastor Ricky Jenkins.
Yeah. So I've served here, Holly, 8 years now. Me and April have 3 kids and senior pastor, whatever that means. And love the community, and they've really embraced us. It's just been a fun ride.
Mm-hmm. Well, and you guys have partnered with us at LeadingSmart in a couple of different ways. Natalie, you've been a part of our gatherings. Pastor Ricky has walked alongside Tim and our team, and both of you, and board consulting. So the first thing I want to start with is, when you reached out to Tim, what problem were you trying to solve? Which I know is a big question.
Yeah, probably a midlife crisis. No. Natalie, I'd love to see how you would express this, but I think essentially we both inherited a church that was that probably had way more potential than she had prowess, is maybe how I would do it. So everything about this church said that this church can be amazing. Yeah. This church, it is amazing, by the way, but this church can be more than what it is. Mm-hmm. And I think she and I felt as leaders, as we tried to kind of push past that ceiling, there was increasing friction, tension might be the right word, and not because there were bad people, but because there was bad history. And so it kind of told some of the power structures and the shareholders that no, we've been through a lot in our history, and a win is protecting us from any potential upheaval. We don't want to experience that. So good enough was good enough. And so you just kept kind of hitting that wall, and some of that kind of lived out in the way of here we were in those days, a 3,000 member church that ran like a 300 member church. So a lot of committeeism, a lot of mundane checks and balances that, although were there for good reasons, limited growth, limited collaboration, limited potential, right? And so here she and I were really trying to say, no, I think there can be 7,500 people here. I think there can be 10,000 people here.
Let's
I think it should be. And I think everyone wanted that, but disagreed as to how to get there. And so it was like, okay, that starts at the top. And so that's what we called Tim. I said, hey, help us from the top embrace a new paradigm for how we see getting from here to there. What would you say, Nat?
I think that's right. I think some of the things, there was just not a clear line of who made what decision. And so it felt like every decision was up for conversation. So instead of us informing, it felt like everything that we informed on then was a decision to be made. And so I think it just was so complex, and we were really growing very quickly. And so we were saying, like, man, if we're moving at this direction, the top has to be as organized as possible and as clear as possible as to who makes decisions so that we can continue to grow. Otherwise, we're going to just stifle this growth and what the Lord is doing here. And so I think both of us were just like, someone has to come. And for both of us too, like, we needed that. We needed someone to say, like, hey, here's the structure that makes the most sense in this season and not for today. We were saying, what does it look like to get to a church of 7,500? What is that structure supposed to look like? Because we want to build that structure in order that we can help continue to grow. And then when we get to that number, then we'll look at what's the next structure that we need. And yet we just couldn't even get past that. Like Ricky said, that 300 member, it just felt like everything was, we were constantly discussing everything at all times. And so definitely we were at a place where we were like, we need someone to come in and really just kind of walk with us and talk to us about what this looks like. Even in our approach of how we made decisions and what we brought and what we even talked about. So it was great to know that there was someone out there that could come do that for us. Yes. We weren't alone in it. Because you can feel alone in it. Like you can feel like, man, is there anyone who knows what we're going through and help us? Because there was a lot of honor, a lot of love in the room for sure. Good people. Like Ricky said, we have wonderful people. But when you've walked through pain, you tend to make decisions from your pain. And we were trying to make decisions not from our pain, but for the health of the church.
That's good.
It sounds like you two are able to see so much potential
and so much opportunity and had such a big vision.
Yeah.
But figuring out how to get from where you were at that 300 mindset,
Yeah.
you know, to 7,500 and beyond mindset.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, how do we bring somebody in to partner with us to help solidify that vision? And
Mm-hmm.
that was so good, Natalie, what you said about, you know, making decisions from pain instead of potential. There you go, Ricky. That'll be your next sermon.
Yeah, that'll preach. That'll
Less
preach.
from pain, more from potential.
That'll preach.
So what did that process look like when the LeadingSmart team and Tim came in to walk alongside you guys? I mean, I'm sure that was a big deal to bring in somebody from the outside of
Yeah.
people who had been here for a long time.
That's a great question. I think Tim, as I look back on it, Tim LeadingSmart, I think for me, the secret sauce was understanding that in an organization, there's a culture, there's a sense of, hey, we are people, we are all, everyone's brilliant, everyone's competent,
Yeah.
right? But man, how do we communicate a way forward? And I liken what Tim did for us to the old school revivalist tradition. And what I mean by that is senior pastor preaches every Sunday faithfully.
Yeah.
But then he'd have 5 nights of revival service and invite an evangelist to come in. And everyone's weeping at the altar, repenting, giving their lives to Christ, saying the same thing that the pastor says 52 Sundays a year.
Yeah.
I felt like Tim was our evangelist
Yes.
who came in to say the same thing, but it was something about the safety of, you're an expert, you've been there and done that, you've worked with other churches who've been there before. I think that was one thing that LeadingSmart brought us. And I think the other thing, in my humble opinion, that they brought us is that Tim knew to come in and say, and sit with me and Natalie and say, hey, what's a win look like? What do you need? What are your hurts? What are your pains? What's a roadmap to success look like? But he also did that with our board.
Yeah.
Like he spent outside of us, right?
Yeah.
And listened to them, and they went in with trust, knowing that they themselves had been heard. Because again, it wasn't really, we weren't bumping hearts, we were just bumping hands, if that makes sense. There was connection and there was fellowship. So I think that was really the secret sauce. What would
No, I think that's it. I think it's just another voice who's been there, done that, and just a trusted space for us all to say, like, hey, we see where we could be, how do we get there? And to have someone who's been there before really helps. It just does. I mean, it just helps to know. And just the process he took us through was he built trust with everyone in the room.
Yep.
And so as we made major changes, because we did make major changes to how,
true.
I mean, we just did. And so, but it wasn't a quick thing. He didn't come in and say, here's 5 things that you need to do in the next 3 months. He came in and said, let me sit with you. Let me hear board side, staff side. What can we do to get better? What are the things that like you're not accomplishing that you should be? And let me help you get there. And I felt like he started with the big picture too. He said, where do you want to be in 5 years?
Yeah.
So he helped Ricky to really, and Ricky knew, Ricky had vision. Like Ricky knew, Ricky's a visionary leader. He knew where he wanted to be in 5 years. So we got to put that on paper, and it was just a really cool process. So before we even changed how we governed, we said, what is the 5-year plan? And then how do we get to a place where we can all stack hands that in order to get to that place, this is how we're going to live from now on.
Yeah.
So I felt like he started with vision, and we know that vision is what heals. And so I felt like that is what kind of helped our room solidify.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Okay, so fast forward, you know, months. I think it's been about a year.
2 years, I
2
think
years.
now.
Wow.
Isn't that
Time is
crazy?
flying.
I know.
That is
Jeez.
wild.
We're actually on our 2nd year of getting through our board
That's true.
our
That's right.
process.
Oh,
Gosh, I
Yeah.
didn't even
man.
thought about
Okay,
that.
so how does it feel now compared to what it felt like 2 years ago? What does life look like with Wellspring Church and you guys as the executive leaders at the helm, your relationship with your board?
Yeah, and you know, thank God for Natalie, who actually can distill, you know, our experience in kind of bite-sizable, accessible, you know, data. I'm a pastor, I'm a preacher, and let me just say it this way: like, I'm not sure I would have made it. And just keeping it real, don't mean to be dramatic. I don't know if I would have made it the way, if we would have persisted in how we were going, I think I would have had to throw in the towel.
Yeah.
The math of it was too much to bear. So I look in the past 2 years where now, I used to always, I tell church planners this all the time. Hey, you got 12 board meetings a year. 10 of them are going to be fine. One of them, they won't be able to stand you. Another one, you won't be able to stand them. And that's
So good.
to me, that was good math.
Yes.
And honestly, keeping it real, Holly, like by God's grace. And the last 2 years have just been some of the most blissful moments: cohesion,
Wow.
solidarity, openness, honesty. And then we've got this gift of this playbook that we all had this elongated experience that we corporately said, this is right for us. This is what we're going to do. Yeah. So now instead of unmet or unspoken expectations, and I think an elder ought to be this, you think an elder ought to be that. Well, now we all have this playbook because we all forget it. I forget it, you know? And so it's so helpful for an elder to be able to say, hey, actually, we said we weren't going to do that. Oh, you know what? That's right. Yeah. And it's helpful for me or Natalie to be able to say, actually, we said we don't do that. Oh, that's right. Because we've all, LeadingSmart walked us through this process and said, this is now our handbook, and we know how to throw flags and truth and love. And so for me, looking at the last 2 years, and then not to mention the growth and what God is doing in this church, I don't know if the Holy Spirit should have trusted us with this growth without having done this investment in our structure. So that's my testimony.
Yeah. Well, and Natalie, walk us through the growth that's happened in the last couple of years.
Yeah, we're seeing, upward of 29% growth year over year, which is just crazy. And it's new families. It's just really exciting. And I think it's right. It's when you look and you put a plan on paper, right? We do it in pencil because obviously it's the Lord's church and he's going to do whatever he wants. We don't plan in pen, we plan in pencil. And so it's like we put a plan in pencil and we said, like, Lord, we would love to get to this number of attendance, but you don't get to that number of attendance by not having a really good, sticky process for them to actually be engaged in community here within the church. And so I think the helpful thing has been for us is we got the board organized into a place where now we're a governing board. They understand what that looks like. We're very intentional with how we onboard new board members, and then we know what a win is. And because we know what a win is, our team knows what a win is. And so I think we can attribute growth to that because it's easy for us to say, like, hey, 7,500 at the end of 500, the end of 5 years, we're looking for 7,500 people to attend here. Now it's easy for me to go to discipleship and say, like, hey, the win is that in 5 years we're going to get to this number, and here's how we're going to do that. And it's easy for me to go to comms and say, like, hey, how do we increase our marketing? And we'll put dollars behind that to say, where are the pockets of people that we're not reaching yet? But even beyond that, it's like 7,500 means we're going to have X amount of services, and we know that that'll kill our senior pastor, right? Like he can't preach that many services, so we're going to have to launch a campus. So I think because we've had this guiding principle of saying, like, here's our 5-year strategic plan that we've all agreed on in the room. We have a board who says, this is our job, this is your job, and our job is to pray and support you and keep you within the policies that we have. We have amazing policies that are written to make sure that we don't go off the rails. And that's their job. They check on us all the time. And we have those policies written for our protection, the church's protection, the staff's protection. But outside of that, their job is to really encourage and to, like, say, hey, let's reach that strategic plan, and we're going to put everything we can behind that, which means that we spend way less time in board meeting talking about, like, the event and how to plan it because they've trusted that to the church, and way more time celebrating, praying, and then getting to know, like, who are the team members and what are they doing. So Tim put a calendar together for us where our team members come in, each ministry is represented. And so really it's helped us. We're growing exponentially, but we also feel more organized and we can run faster. So for sure, instead of being tied up with the things that would come out of a board meeting that had the potential to tie all of our staff up in things that they didn't have to do right then, we're actually able to run faster.
Yes, man. That switch from a managing board to a governing board is huge. And kudos to you guys for seeing that, recognizing that, prayerfully considering, okay, how do we ask for the help that we need in order to get where we want to go and make that shift?
That's good.
What do you feel like is at stake if, the leaders who are listening or watching this and they're probably watching this because they know they need help, but maybe there's some hesitancy for whatever reason. What's at stake if we don't get the help that we need for ourselves and our churches?
Well, I can just bear witness from my story. I think right before we called Tim, and I was just got a crux where we keep coming back here to, like, this stagnant. We're not, kind of like a quagmire. We just can't get out of this mush. And even though there was love and fellowship and everyone's excited, and everyone loves this church, and goodness gracious, so I can't do this. Okay, I don't have it within me, and I need to reach on the outside of me. And I remember calling my pastor, Kenton B. Shore, and Holly, I'm Billy Graham altar call. They're singing Just As I Am, snot nose crying. Like, I'm there. And I'm just saying, I just don't think this is for me. To which he replied, Ricky, these are problems at every church. Yeah. So if you leave here, you're going to have another 2-3 great years, and then you're going to be right back where you are now at the next church. This is not a church issue. This is an organizing issue. Yeah. This is a systems issue. This is an infrastructural issue, and you've got the potential and the well-meaning in the room to get it done. Yeah. And so I just want to speak to that. Like, what's at stake for me is that this is a reality. This is a benchmark that every leader has to cross if your vision is going to be brought to bear at the ministry God's called you to lead. So for me, like, being able to, I'm at a place today that 5 years ago, I'm just telling you, I was thinking this can't work.
Yeah.
And now I'm like, I will never, ever leave here. Now they may kick me out, but I will this is where I want to be.
Yeah. They'll have to drag you out kicking and screaming.
Kicking and screaming, kicking and screaming.
He'll be an old man with his cane.
And my wife may not even go with me. She just may stay. Stay.
No, that's so good. And man, Kenton is so wise to say that and to help encourage you to stay in it, learn through it, to increase your capacity as a leader so that the organization's capacity could increase.
That's exactly right.
Because otherwise, you go to another church and then you're just kind of church
Same old
hopping.
thing. That's right.
And your leadership capacity is staying stagnant. That's awesome.
That's it.
Yeah.
I would say too, we had to have board members who are willing to engage in the conversation.
Yes.
And so we had to get to a season where we actually had board members who were saying like, hey, I see the risk as well. And so they were willing to say like, let's engage in this conversation and be willing to have the conversation of like, yeah, I see that potential as well.
Yeah.
Because it's our job to see the potential for the church. We live in it day in, day out, right? A board member, most of our board members don't have a significant amount of church experience, but they bring different things to the table. And so they had to really be willing to engage in the conversation with us, and they were, which was also a sweet process for them to be willing to say like, hey, let's do this. And I think every process, there was this trickle down effect that happened within it where when I first started working in the church world, I came from Marketplace. I remember my first year here, how the church as in large handled HR processes, right? So like how you got a raise, how you were developed, how you were even evaluated. We didn't have any of that. Now we've had that for our staff for a long time. What Tim helped us do was create a process for both Ricky and myself as well, where the board actually has a process to evaluate Ricky. Yeah. Ricky has a process to evaluate me. Everybody wants to know that they're doing a good job.
That's right.
You just do. And you want someone to say like, here's what the win is for me, and here's an area of improvement. And so instead of like a board review being like, Ricky, you're awesome. Ricky, you looked good on stage on Sunday.
Yeah. It warmed my heart.
My heart. Now there's an actual like process to that. They come informed to those meetings. Like it's not just throwing spaghetti on the wall and seeing if it sticks. I think you would say that process feels better. I know
100%.
Yeah. That's so like awesome. Where we had worked on that really hard for our staff, Tim really helped us to figure that out at our level, so that I think the board even walks into those moments really excited because they're engaged in an evaluation process that's actually pretty strategic, pretty thoughtful, and supportive. 100%. Because if you're meeting your ends, right? So if a board says, we're gonna go for X, Y, and Z for you to have this year, and it has nothing to do with what color the walls are. It's like, hey, are you getting people planted at your church? Are you getting people rooted? Are you getting people growing and going? And you meet those marks, then you're doing a good job.
Yes.
So regardless of how many times you preach or what you preached on, if this is happening, it's a win. And so I think
that's good.
I would say it would have been a loss for us to keep going in that if we hadn't engaged, because I think eventually that process was pretty daunting as well.
Yeah.
That's so good.
I'm an XP, so I think in like processes and systems.
And we love that, Natalie, right?
Yes, we do. Yes, we
do.
Yes, we do. Now I don't even understand what you just said.
Right?
But I'm very grateful for it.
I remember the first time I asked Ricky, so how does your evaluation go? Because I'm not an actual board member, right? So I step out of the board member when they go into executive session, and he's like, well, they just like tell me I'm doing good, and then and I'm like, how do they know how much you should get paid? And he's like, well, I don't know. And I'm like, I actually don't. They've never asked me like for a comp survey or anything. And he's like, oh, I don't know. So I just like asked the question because I was so curious, right? I'm like saying like, what is your process? Because I have a process for the rest of the staff, and they were like, we don't really have one. And I was like, Oh, I'd love to give you kind of what we do. So even for Tim to come in and say like, yeah, let me work with the board on that. So he worked with our chair and our vice chair and us on a process, and it was just beautiful. They trusted him because he had done this great process. And I'm telling you, from an executive pastor seat, knowing what the senior pastor's comp is going to be and what his evaluation is in October instead of January when the budget's already done has been just a beautiful, you would think it's like a no-brainer, but I know there's a lot of churches who don't have process around that. I don't think you can only grow to where your systems and processes are. It's just the reality.
Yes.
So at some point you have to get strategic with that, and Tim helped us.
Yeah, and the principle is clarity is kindness.
Yeah. Yes.
And as Natalie said, we felt like we had given a gift of clarity to the staff.
Yeah.
And this process with LeadingSmart helped the board to give us the gift of clarity.
Yes.
So I'm not surprised. Like, I already know what my board's going to say with my performance review because I've got a process, because there's clarity, and I know what we've been working our hiney's off on all year. I don't think Natalie's surprised when she has her review because, we've got this clarity that, hey, we all got the same end zone we're running towards, and we've got these benchmarks. And even though I would say I had that in me, she definitely had that in her, and I think the board had that in them. You needed a translator that can bring to bear witness from other successful churches and great ministries with that credibility to say, hey, let me translate what Natalie's saying. Let me translate what Ricky's saying. Let me translate what the board is saying. And hey, great churches do this. We're going to nuance this for you and move us forward. It's just, it made it fun. It made us all believe in it. And if I had to do it all over again tomorrow, I'd do it again tomorrow.
That's awesome. There's what you said, Natalie, reminded me of a great James Clear, the author of Atomic Habits. He says, you don't rise to the level of your goals, you fall to the level of your systems.
That's right.
So that's so good.
That's right.
Well, my last question is for you, Natalie, on you as an executive pastor have been a part of our executive pastor network and our gatherings. So we'd just love to hear what it has meant for you to be a part of our LeadingSmart community over the last few years.
It's been great. I've gone to 2 different of your retreats, and one in Anaheim and one in Palm Springs, and it's just an amazing time to gather with other thought leaders. One of the things that I love that you do, I've been in other cohorts before, I think what you guys do that really is one of the best things is that you bring in outside representation even from different ministries. So I love that there's a lawyer sitting at the table at many of them. I love that there's an HR expert sitting at the table at many of them. I love that there's a search firm. So they're not there to solicit your business. They're there when you're having conversations about things to offer you advice. And so it's one of the things that I think is key in what you guys do. I love your format of putting things up on a board and then we all discuss it because there's churches of all different sizes. And I remember the first time I stepped into that space, I was a brand new XP. I had been on staff for a long time here doing other ministry, but executive pastor just holds a different kind of a weight. And so it was fun just to step into a room with other leaders who were intentional, who were saying like, hey, this is what we have to offer, but this is where we're learning. And we all got to learn shoulder to shoulder. I love the fact that I'm in a cohort that's specifically female XPs and another organization. And I love that this cohort is not just females. I love that it's females and males shoulder to shoulder, all learning. So it's not about what your gender is. It's about what your role is. And I think you guys have done a really beautiful job of making it equal at the table. So no matter what your thoughts are or what your, doesn't matter what theology is, we can all come shoulder to shoulder, respect each other and say like, hey, this is what it is to be in the second chair at a church. And we all honor our senior pastors and we're all saying, how do we get better and support the mission and vision of the church? And you guys do a really good job of facilitating those conversations.
Well, we are so grateful that you're a part of our LeadingSmart community and just so grateful to you, Natalie, and Pastor Ricky for your ministry here at Wellspring Church and just the testament to your faithfulness through doing the hard work on the systems and processes so that because that's stewardship. You're stewarding the influence and the resources that God has given you, and then now you're just able to reap the reward of seeing God bless that. Even this week with Revival Week. So with that, I'm going to let you go to your revival service.
Yes.
Thank you guys so much for your time and sharing
Holly.
your story with our LeadingSmart community.
Thank you, Holly.
We appreciate you guys. Thank you for all you do.
Thank you.
Oh man, Tim, I have already heard that. I mean, I was there. I interviewed them, and I've listened to it a couple of times since I was there with them in person, and I just love hearing their hearts, their intentionality, their leadership. But tell us about how Ricky and Natalie are doing now that we're a bit removed from even that interview that we did a few months ago.
It's been fun to stay connected to them. Ricky and I text a bit, and then Natalie's come to several of our gatherings for executive pastors and executive leaders. But they're doing great. I think they're about twice the size they were as far as the weekend attendance goes, in-person attendance, as when we started with them in early 2024, which is amazing in 2 years. And they're beginning to expand their campus and their footprint to serve the Palm Springs area. Amazing way. It's just a really strong outpost in that area, and it was cool to come alongside them and help them for a season.
Yeah. And so this was really our heart behind creating our church board masterclass that we are releasing. Like right now, like as you're listening to this, it is either in pre-release or has officially been released, that we love walking alongside churches to help their church boards get healthy, but we know that we won't be able to come on site and do a high-level consulting engagement with every church across the country, which is why we have put together our church board masterclass, which is a digital experience that you can purchase, have lifetime access, and walk your board through it. And so we encourage you to go check that out at LeadingSmart.com or HealthyChurchBoard.com. That one might even be easier. It'll lead you right to the landing page, HealthyChurchBoard.com. And it is 11 video lessons that you can work through. You could go on a board retreat, and it's about 3 hours of content, and you can work through it over like a 2-day period. Or you could, once a month when you get together, watch a video, participate in the reflection questions that we have right there. And then we've got a comprehensive workbook to accompany the entire experience. But we believe that a healthy board creates a healthy church, and it's really hard to have a healthy church without a healthy board, which is why we've put this resource together. So anything you want to add, Tim?
Excited about the churches that already jumped on. And if you hear this before September 1st, anyone who signs up before September 1st, we're doing just a private call, Zoom call with them to answer any questions they have on September 2nd. So if you hear this before, then grab that. And if not, that's okay. The board masterclass actually includes a 30-minute call with us that you can do whenever you want to, based on questions that you have as you go through the material.
Yeah. All right. Well, go check it out at .com, and we'll see you next time on the Leading Smart podcast.